Hello and welcome back to another week here at Knick Knack Kitchen, where today we are making my ultimate chocolate cheesecake. Now, if you've been following this channel for the last few months, you've noticed that there have been a lot of chocolate based recipes over here. And to continue on that path, I have the most amazing chocolate cheesecake. I assure you that this is going to be one of the best cheesecakes you've ever had. And after creating all that hype, all that's left to say is let's just dive into this video and see how we make this. So we're going to start by making our biscuit base, for which I have some Oreos. I've ground them into a powder in a mixer, but you can do that by hand. And now we're going to go ahead and add some melted butter. I'm using unsalted butter, but you can certainly use salted butter as well. Whatever you have at your disposal works perfectly fine. Now we're going to mix this with the help of a spoon or a fork, and once it resembles the consistency of wet sand, we're going to go ahead and transfer this to our spring foam pan. And today I have a 7-inch pan. If you have a 9-inch or a 10-inch pan, then you can just double the recipe. We're going to flatten this mixture out with the back of a spoon, after which we're going to transfer this to the refrigerator for about 15 minutes while our oven is preheating. So now we're going to bake this base for 8 minutes in a preheated oven. And at that point, this is going to be very soft, but we let this cool down to room temperature and it will firm up. Moving on to the body of our cheesecake, I have some chocolate in a bowl and we're going to melt this completely in the microwave. So whenever I'm melting chocolate in the microwave, I like to heat this for about 40 seconds at a time and then I stir it a little. This just helps to ensure that your chocolate melts evenly and it does not burn at the bottom. So keep stirring and heating. And after each 40-second burst, you're going to notice that the chocolate will have melted a little more. So one final burst of 40 seconds and now our chocolate is melted completely. It's very glossy. We're just going to set this aside to cool down a little. In the meanwhile, in a separate bowl, I have 3 eggs. And can we just take a moment to appreciate just how perfectly intact those yolks are? I'm just very proud of myself. And now we're just adding some sugar, and I like to use a combination of both white and brown sugar. But if you don't have brown sugar, then you can just use all white sugar. Now we're just going to beat this all together for a good 5 minutes until everything is well combined and has risen in volume. So now we're going to go ahead and add some coffee powder, and along with that we'll add a little bit of vanilla extract and finally a little bit of cocoa powder as well. And now we're just going to beat this all until everything's well combined, so that should take about a minute to a minute and a half. And now we're going to go in with our melted chocolate. It has cooled down just a bit. So now we're going to add all of it in. And after this, we're going to go ahead and add our cream cheese. And I'm using my homemade cream cheese. If you want the recipe, I'm going to link that in the description box below. Do check it out. And now I'm going to finally add a little bit of cream. We're going to beat this all together until everything is well combined. Now that should take about another 2 minutes. Make sure that you do not overbeat this batter. We do not want to incorporate too much of air because that might just lead to a lot of cracks in your cheesecake. So here you can see the consistency of our cheesecake filling. We're just going to set this aside for a few minutes and bring out our biscuit base. I want to prepare my cake pan for the water bath, and for that all I'm really going to do is wrap it with a layer of foil. Ideally you can add 2 layers of foil. This just helps give extra protection and ensures that no water seeps into your cheesecake pan. So now we're just going to fill up our pan with our entire filling, and after we've added every bit of the filling, there's no wastage whatsoever, we are just going to go ahead and smoothen the top. And here I'm using an offset spatula, but you can certainly use a spoon, the back of a spoon rather, and that should do the job just as well. Now to bake this cheesecake, I like to place it in a water bath, which basically means just using a larger dish than your spring foam pan and placing your spring foam pan in it and then just covering it with some hot water. The height would be around 1 inch to 1.5 inches. The water should be boiling hot, And then we're going to transfer this to our oven very carefully and bake it for 1 hour. Our cheesecake is cooked when it's a little firm on the edges but wobbly in the center. Now we're going to leave this in a turned off oven for at least an extra hour until it cools down. And then our cheesecake is baked. It's perfectly baked. You can see that there are no cracks, and that's how it should be. And now we're just going to run a knife around the edges. Now to the hardest part of this recipe, we are going to have to cover this cheesecake and put it in the refrigerator for at least 6 hours or better overnight. I'm sorry, but you have to be a little more patient before you can eat this. Now flash forward to the next day. I'm making a chocolate ganache, and for that all I have is some chopped up chocolate, to which I'm adding some heated up cream. Now we're going to let this sit for a couple of minutes, and the chocolate would have melted a little by then, and now we're just going to mix this all together until we have a smooth, silky, and certainly very glossy ganache. So now we're going to take our cheesecake out of the fridge, and we're just going to get it out of its pan as well. And at this point we're going to go ahead and pour all of our chocolate ganache on top. I'm going to spread this out completely with the help of an offset spatula. You can do this with the help of a back of a spoon as well. Once we've adequately covered the entire top, we are going to place this back in the refrigerator for a few more minutes while we make our chocolate whipped cream. Now to make the chocolate whipped cream, I'm just going to start with some whipping cream. We're going to beat this for about a minute to a minute and a half. We only want to loosen this up at this point. And then we're going to go ahead and add our cocoa powder. After which we're going to beat this nicely for at least 2 to 3 minutes. And at that point we're going to go ahead and add some sugar. Now I was using unsweetened whipping cream and accordingly needed 20 grams of sugar, but if you're using sweetened whipping cream, then you might want to taste this first and then add sugar accordingly. There's no hard and fast rule over here. Now we're going to beat this until we have some soft peaks, at which point we're going to go ahead and add some vanilla extract. And now we're going to beat this for another 3 to 4 minutes until we have stiff peaks. So the final thing that is left is to decorate this cheesecake, and for that I'm just going to pipe some dollops of the chocolate whipped cream all around the edges, and for the center I am using some shaved chocolate which I've just grated, a chocolate bar. And now I'm going to sprinkle this all over the center, and this way we can hide any imperfection on this cheesecake. Even if you did not spread the ganache properly, now's the time to cover it all up. It's going to look so amazing. And now I'm just adding some chocolate sprinkles for additional detailing. So all I'm really doing is sprinkling this all over the sides, and we're done. Here you have my ultimate chocolate cheesecake. It looks absolutely amazing. It tastes so delicious. Honestly, I just don't have enough superlatives for this. Here is a slice of this majestic cheesecake. I'm already salivating just at the look of it, so I'm gonna treat myself to a bite. And honestly, all that's really left to say is that I hope you give this cheesecake a try. You are going to be completely blown away by it, I assure you. And with all that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you found this recipe useful, then please do give a like, do share and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And as always, thank you so very much for watching, and I'm gonna see you next week.